The Mimic panel is essential to configure the system and is called a layout designer in the following. This video shows how to configure the system using the layout designer. Open the layout designer from the settings menu. This is best shown on a tablet or large computer screen. The system can store up to 4 different layout designs. So when opening the layout designer, you are asked whether to start a blank new design or open one of the 4 stored designs. It is safe to open a design because the system makes a copy of it and never makes changes to the design itself. When the layout designer is started, it must be linked to a locomotive, which will later be used to measure the layout. Inside the layout designer, you see at the bottom 4 steps you have to go through. In the first step, you have to draw the layout. Tracks are drawn by first clicking on one of the symbols in the menu and afterwards clicking on a tile. When a symbol is selected, it becomes green, and 3 other related symbols become gray. Clicking multiple times on a tile will cycle through the related symbols, and this is often faster than using the menu. Straight tracks can automatically be drawn by clicking the Auto Connect button. This also indicates by red color if some of the tracks are incomplete. In order to go to the next design step, the track layout must be complete. It is possible to open the design and continue later, and therefore we advise you to start drawing only a part of your layout. It is optional to place the signal symbols now, as these can be added later, but you must of course make room for them. The platform symbol is visual only and has no functionality. The vertical track is only used to improve the view for circular layouts, but in general, the tracks should be drawn horizontally, as on a prototypical Mimic panel. When a virtual track is placed above or below a connection symbol, it will connect to it. You can make up to 4 panels and switch between them in the upper right corner. Normally, use the connection symbols to connect tracks. However, it is possible to draw between panels, as the right side of panel 1 connects to the left side of panel 2, etc. When you are ready, you can proceed to the next step, where you are going to define turnouts and other objects. The connection symbols are paired by first clicking on one of them and then clicking on the other. Double-click on a connection symbol to release the pairing. Click on each turnout to give it an address. When you enter the address, it will change the state of the turnout on the layout. Use the invert button to invert the motor polarity. Use the set buttons to test if the turnout behaves as shown on the figures. For signals, you can enter the address, but not invert the polarity. All addresses must be entered before you can proceed to the next step, where you are going to measure the tracks using the selected locomotive. In the measurement step, you can proceed without finishing all measurements, and the system can be operated as long as you only run locomotives on the tracks that has been measured. The red distance markers show you where measurements are missing. The actual measurement method is shown in another video. For now, we will finalize the design. The system asks for the name of the design and where to store it. At this point you can overwrite old designs, so be careful. If you replace the current used design, it will immediately be active. If you choose to store in another memory location, you are asked to decide whether you want to use the new design as the actual one for operation. The system will reset the known position of all locomotives when the actual design is changed. You can also go into the Layout Settings menu and choose the actual design. Please note, You cannot go backwards in the design process without losing the work you've done in the steps you are leaving. It is therefore better to go forward in the process and store an unfinished design. You can then reopen it and this way come back to the first design step without losing work. Further, in this early version of the Layout Designer, there is a database limitation, and it is therefore important not to draw too much on each panel. The Mimic panel is not just used for configuration of the layout, it can also be used to control the layout. Open the Mimic panel from the main menu to enter the operation mode. In the Mimic panel, you can control the layout by switching turnouts and signals just by clicking on the corresponding tile. More features and automation will be added later, such that the Mimic panel will be a full substitution for Train Controller, iTrain, etc.